Hello everyone. I hope all are safe and you are staying at home. Okay. So today in this lecture we will discuss about modeling the single phase fluid flow through porous medium. So the modeling single phase fluid flow through porous medium we have already covered in the class for some assumptions. Okay. For some assumptions we have conceptualized the model by making some assumptions, and a simplified model we had ended up. And how do we solve the simplified model? That's what we had seen in the class. And we just today we will try to unlock one of the assumption, which is, so we consider in the earlier case, if you remember, um, that the compressibility of the fluid is, means the fluid is incompressible. Okay, so we conceptualize that the fluid is incompressible, and basically we solve the single phase fluid flow through porous medium, and the fluid we consider is basically water. Okay, so for that conceptual idea, so we ended up in a very simplest model. That's the most simplest case which we can encounter in flow through porous medium problems. And so that's to give an example for you. And so if we just try to unlock all the assumptions one by one, so how complicated the model will get into. So that's what the idea of today's class. And so we already tried in the class, we solved it for single phase flow in one dimension. And basically we ended up in a tridiagonal matrix. Okay, so if you recall our earlier class, you can remember, I mean, you can just get back to that. Okay, so anyway, we will just rewind it since it's been very long time back we are having a class. So I'll just go through um, to that problem, and then we will come to the problem which we are planning to address today. Okay, so just to give a so just to bridge you from the earlier class to the today's class. Okay, so we also tried what will happen to the numerical model, and what will happen to the matrix system that we will finally get at the end of reservoir simulation modeling this flow through porous medium problem. So we solve it if you are not considering one-dimensional flow. If we are if you are trying to solve it for two-dimensional flow, so how the problem will get complicated. So that also we have tried. So if you recall, for the one-dimensional flow, you ended up in a matrix of tridiagonal matrix system. And in case of a two-dimensional flow, it was a pentadiagonal matrix, and the last two diagonals, one main diagonal was there, and one upper diagonal was there, and one lower diagonal was there, and that was as a band it was there. And another two lower diagonal, another one lower diagonal and upper diagonal matrix were scattered in the matrix that we are ending up. So that we had solved step by step through our board class. I'm sure that you should be very, you should have got the point that time. I was able to see that you can solve it. You can do it by yourself. So that's the idea. So when we unlock every assumptions, how the model is getting complicated. So today we will just try to conceptualize uh, the same model, but only difference is if the fluid is compressible, how it is going to change. Okay, so this I'm taking now because the equation which you are going to end up at the end of this will give a lead to two-phase flow model. Okay, so the way we are going to discretize this equation means the way we are going to convert the partial differential equation into finite difference form, so that the same technique is going to be applied in case of a uh, two-phase or three-phase flow. Okay, multi-phase flows. Okay, immiscible multi-phase fluid is flowing through porous medium. For such condition, you will end up in an equation, and that equation has to be solved in a similar technique. Okay, so that is why I'm taking this case first, and then we will move to immiscible two-phase fluid flow problem. Okay. Okay, so you can see the vision of our school, and you are well aware of this. And So as far as our course is concerned, so these are the course objectives and course outcomes. Okay. So at the end of this course, you should be able to, you should be tested and you should be qualified to with all these points. Okay. So on successful completion of this course, you should be able to classify various modeling techniques available, and you should be able to develop a numerical model, creating an algorithm based on the conceptual model that we have conceptualized. Okay, so if in case of complex reservoir geometries, you should be able to conceptualize how it will be different. Okay, so and how the model will change, means from the base models, and to demonstrate the various numerical and mathematical complexities associated with this complex geometries, and and you should be very aware of what is the central role of reservoir simulation engineers in managing a field. Okay, so and we have to apply all these fundamental idea, fundamental knowledge gained, and then that has to be applied to field scale problems. So that's the final topic. Okay, so the today's class will be on developing CO2, CO3, and CO4. Okay. However, we will touch all the COs, but it will be mainly focused on CO2, 3, and 4. Okay. So we'll just start with the fundamental basic workflow. So this we had talked about. We had talked about in our first class. Okay. So I used to talk about this every time. So the major workflow means major steps are you have to conceptualize the model. Okay. So below is an example. We had discussed with an example of a person is traveling from point A to point B at some velocity. So how do you solve it mathematically, and how do you solve it numerically? So that we had discussed in the class. So similar example is here is about a growth of a bacterial colony. Okay, you can even conceptualize. It's analogous to what the scenario prevailing right now. You can conceptualize it to the growth of the COVID-19 patients, means how it is spreading. Okay, so you have to conceptualize it. So bacterial colony is growing at some rate. Okay, so that rate has to be converted into a mathematical form. Okay, your conceptual idea is transforming into an equation now, and that equation is in partial differential form or or ordinary differential equation depending on the scenario, and that equation has to be solved now. Okay, so for solving, you know what is the initial conditions. Initially there were some one or two corona patients. Okay, there is some n number of bacteria present in this example, or in case of corona patients, initially there was one person infected or 2% infected in India. Initially it was found. Then from that one person, it spread to three on the next day. On the next day, it is going to be another three. So it is growing exponentially. So that growth rate is what is alpha, and initial there is the initial condition. So using that, you can solve it. So when you have an equation like dn by dt, like what we have here, so you can solve it two ways. Okay, so that's what analytical solution is coming, and numerical solution is coming. Okay, so analytical solution is you can separate this variable and then integrate it to the limits, and then you will get a solution. So now you can directly substitute after 10 days what is the scenario. You can substitute t, what is the value of t, and n naught is the initial condition, and alpha is the growth rate. So when you substitute this value, you can get the value for different times. Say you can see here in the red dots are the analytical solutions. After this time, after T1, after T2, after T3, and after time 3, 4, time 5, this is the value. Okay, so we are not aware of what happened in between, but after some T3 time, this is the value. Okay, so that's what analytical solution is. You can conceptualize with the Buckley-Leverett solution. We had solved it in Excel also. We had an exercise of solving Buckley-Leverett solution. Okay, after 1 day, 2 day, 10 day, 100 day, 1 year, 1 month, 2 year, 3 year, what is the distribution of saturation we get? from the Buckley leverage solution. Okay, so that's the analytical solution. What happened in between, we do not know. Okay, so at that time, this is the value. So that's what we will get from analytical solution. But however, it is a exact solution for the numerical, means for the equation which we have got. Okay, so that gives a exact solution. But the numerical way of solving is approximating it. We apply Taylor series. You apply Taylor series and then you approximate it to a discrete value points. And for every delta t time, what is the increment in n that we are calculating. And then uh, at this point of time, you are very well aware of these steps. Okay, so this you can solve. So this is a primary difference between the numerical model and analytical model. You will get a continuous solution. Okay, so the solution you will get a smooth and continuous curve you will get, but not like a discrete point what we had got in analytical solution. You can see the result here. So anyway, you are applying some approximation techniques for the numerical solution. So that approximation, so you are approximating it to some accuracy, and so it is not always exact solution. Okay, but analytical solution we have integrated and we had applied the mathematical technique, and then you got a final solution, and that will give an exact solution. Okay, so every time when we try to model any phenomena, so we try to find an analytical solution and try to match it with it. Say, for example, in this case, the curve is matching with the analytical solution, and so you can say now that the numerical model developed. The numerical model developed is representative of the physical system which you are addressing now. Okay, so this is the overall idea. So basically, you have a conceptual model, a mathematical model has to be developed from that, and the conceptual idea has to be transformed to equivalent mathematics, and the equivalent mathematical into the mathematical equation which we have developed, that is has to be approximated by applying your numerical techniques to a set of equations, and that equation has to be solved. Okay, so for solving, you have lakhs and lakhs of nodes for a field case problem. So in that case, you cannot solve a 1 lakh cross 1 lakh cross 1 lakh cross 1 lakh matrix manually. Okay. So for that case only we are using a computer code. We are using a solver, or we are using MATLAB or C program, or we are using a end user products like CMG or a simulator to solve the problem. So the simulator basically does this part. Okay, so the inputs we will give, inputs required for the mathematical model and the numerical model, we will give as geometry of the reservoir, of the petrophysical properties or the fluid properties. You give it, you feed it to the system, and finally when you run the simulation, it will make use of all the available data which we have given, and then it will create a it will provide you a desired results. Okay, so whether that is true representative or not, that we will match it with the available analytical solution. So okay, so but we have analytical solution which is termed as an exact solution, and why don't we solve for all the cases? That's another question. So analytical solution can be arrived at for simplest cases, but not for complicated problems. Okay, once when we add more and more complexity, the equation gets complicated. So in such cases, it is not possible to get analytical solution for all the problems. Only for very basic problems you can get. And so it is advised to create a numerical, I mean, simulate our numerical model for the limitations of analytical solutions, inputs of the analytical solutions, and then see whether it is matching. So once it is matching, then you can say that your model is validated, and then you can move forward for the applications. Okay, so that's how it works. Okay, so this is with an example of a simple example, and now we will talk about our problem, single phase fluid flow. So the same steps we had done earlier, and I'm sharing that exercise. So you can see it here. So these are the assumptions which we had made, and porous medium is homogeneous, viscosity and compressibility are constant, and the Darcy's law is valid, and flow is in one dimension. Okay, so this assumption we will try to unlock and see what will happen now. So we had mass conservation, momentum conservation equation. and we substitute the mass momentum conservation, which is basically the Darcy's law. It will give you the it will act as the momentum conservation. So all the forces that acts on the that drives the fluid is mm, incorporated in the Darcy's equation, and so you can substitute Darcy's equation in the as momentum conservation into the mass conservation, and then finally we end up in this equation. So we did this step by step. So now this is the mathematical equation representing this conceptual idea. Okay, so these initial and boundary conditions we had, and then I'm just fast forward it because we had done it already. Okay, so this partial differential equation you have to transform into a numerical form. For that we use Taylor series, and from the Taylor series you can approximate partial derivative f dash dou f by dou x into a discrete values like this, and these higher order terms are truncated as means assumed to be insignificant, and it is truncated. So this part we are not considering into the in our approximation. So that's why it is called as an approximate model. Okay, approximate model, and likewise you can get you can get it for dou square f by dou x square like this, and then we substituted all. So this is dou p by dou t and dou square p by dou x square. You can substitute it in the equation, and now the equation, the partial differential equation has become to this form. Okay, so now it is no more partial derivative. It's not a derivative now. It is expressed as a discrete values. Okay, so pi n plus 1, I'm sure that you remember whatever is in the superscript of the variable or represents the time nodes, and the subscripts represents the spatial nodes. Okay, these are the indices, and basically the domain you have to divide into small grid blocks, and we calculate pressure. Pressure is the primary dependent variable here, so we calculate the pressure at the node points. Okay, so you have the initial condition, n is equal to 0 is the initial condition, so you have the initial condition and we have the boundary condition. Okay, so using this initial and boundary condition, we calculate what is the pressure after delta t time, what is the pressure at the each and every node. That's what the objective is. Okay, so we had a discretized equation you can rearrange like this, and we ended up in a matrix like this. Okay, so from this place only we need a solver, a MATLAB or a C program to solve the matrix. Okay, so in this case you have divided the domain into 5 node points, 1 2 3 4 5 node points, and there are 3 unknown node points excluding the boundary nodes. We know the boundary nodes, and so you have 3 unknown nodes, and that's why you ended up in a 3 cross 3 matrix, because you have because we have 3 intermediate unknown nodes and you have 1 dependent variable. Okay, so that's why you have ended up in a 3 cross 3 matrix. Okay, for the same computational domain, if you have 2 unknowns, then you will have, for every nodes you have two unknowns. Say for example, two-phase flow, we have to calculate pressure and saturation. So for every node we have pressure and saturation as an unknown, and so we will end up in a 3 into 2, 6 cross 6 matrix. Okay, so that's how the matrix will get complicated, and in that case you cannot expect that the matrix is banded like this. Okay, so the entries corresponding to the saturation will be scattered somewhere somewhere else in the matrix system. Okay, so that's why we will end up in a complicated matrix when you complicate the problem. And so that's why we need to know various matrix solving techniques also. So that's also part of the syllabus. We will cover it. Okay, so you have solved this also. We have done it, and we have done an assignment. Okay, so this is the overall picture of a single phase flow. It is to rewind what we had done in the earlier classes. Okay, so now when we will go back to the today's topic. So when we consider compressibility, when we say that the fluid is incompressible, how the how the model is getting complicated. That's what is the today's discussion. Do I have time? Okay, so we will go to that PPT. Okay, so when we consider uh, formation volume factor, sorry, not formation volume factor, even the fluid is compressible, which means that with respect to time and space, the density of the fluid is changing. Okay, so this density, the rho u and rho phi, so the rho inside the mass conservation equation is no more a constant. Okay, so it is a variable now. And the change in density we can account as density itself, or we can use formation volume factor to correlate it. Okay, means we can convert this equation into B naught or BW or B gas formation volume factor, and so the density of the fluid at surface condition is equal to like this. Okay, so reservoir condition is equal to density of the fluid at surface standard condition to divided by BW or B naught or BG. Okay, so you can substitute, you can convert, remove this density, replace this density into like this form. Okay, this constant will get cancelled on both the side, and so you will have U by VW, likewise phi by VW. Okay, so you will get and after substituting our Darcy's law here, you will get the mass conservation and momentum conservation will become like this. Okay, including the source term. Okay, so earlier, if you remember, okay, so let us not go back to that layer exercise. You are aware of that. We'll discuss with this only. Okay, so now this is the equation, and this equation, if you see, it has the main primary dependent variable is pressure. Okay, the pressure is what we want to find. It is a primary dependent variable. There are other variables also. Other variables are B. Okay, B and porosity. Okay, so when porosity is changing, permeability is also is going to change. If you have related permeability, intrinsic permeability of the formation as a function of porosity, so if we had related it in that way, so when if the porosity is changing, intrinsic permeability of the formation is also going to change. Okay, so now if you see this porosity is a variable and B is a variable. Okay, so and here dou P by dou X is a variable and the coefficient of the dou P by dou X. Okay, so this is not a constant now, it is variable now. Okay, so in the earlier exercise it was constant, and so we moved it outside and it was comfortably becoming k by mu pi ct into dou square p by dou x square. So for dou square p by dou x square we have a Taylor series expression, and we directly substituted it, and then we ended up in that set of equations. But the primary complication here is the coefficient is not a constant, it is having a variable coefficient. Okay, so when a primary dependent variable is having a variable coefficient, and then that set of system of equation is becoming nonlinear. Okay, so that nonlinearity is enforced because of this variable coefficient. Okay, so y is equal to mx plus c is a straight line if m is a constant value. Okay, if m is a variable, then it is not going to be a straight line. Okay, it is going to be a curve. So likewise, this is a nonlinear equation. So the nonlinearity is being induced by the variable coefficient. Okay, so this is about the equation. So how we are going to solve it, we'll see. So you can take the right hand side and you can split it using UV, and then it will become like this. Maybe I'll use some. So this dou phi porosity by dou t is, we can split it like this. And it is becoming like what is here, dou porosity, because we want to express the equation in terms of pressure. So you split it like this, and then it is coming here. Okay. So dou phi by this, we have split it dou porosity by dou p into dp into dou p by dou t. Okay, and multiply and divide by porosity here. Okay, so porosity by porosity. So dp by porosity into 1 by dp. Okay, so this is compressibility, volumetric strain. Strain per unit change in pressure is what compressibility. Here it is, the strain is happening in the porosity. It is a rock property, and so we account it as a compressibility of the rock. Okay, if the rock is compressible, first the porosity of the rock will, that compressibility will account directly on the porosity of the formation. Okay, the porosity of the formation will come down. So it is accounted as rock compressibility here, and the other terms are there. So likewise, so this term is becoming like this, and you can account it as fluid compressibility. Okay, 1 by b, multiply and divide by b, and the formation volume factor b in the numerator will become 1 by b, and then you can, this is, we are aware of it, means you have done it in the class also. So this will become fluid compressibility. Okay, so this will account, this is accounted as rock compressibility, and this is accounted as fluid compressibility, and so you can consolidate like this: porosity by b into total compressibility into dou p by dou t. Okay, so this is the temporal term, temporal side of the temporal term of the mass conservation and the momentum conservation equation. And the right hand side is left hand side, spatial derivative is explicit, so we need not have any mathematical transformation of that. So the final equation is looking like this. Okay, so porosity into ct by b into dou p by dou t is equal to, it is like this. Okay, so as I told you earlier, this equation is not like what we had earlier. Okay, so this, it is a nonlinear equation, and that nonlinearity is enforced because of the variable coefficient. Okay, so for discretizing this equation, we have to follow a different technique, and so that's what we want to emphasize in this lecture. And this is, this will give you a step, means an idea how to discretize the two-phase flow model. So in case of two-phase flow model, which means immiscible two-phase fluid, means you have two fluids, and when we have two fluids flowing concurrently in the porous media, and so we have the constant of relative permeability. So this equation will become like intrinsic permeability will become an effective permeability. So K into Kr alpha will come in. So that Kr alpha is a variable, even though means no matter if you consider the fluid is compressible or incompressible, or viscosity is a constant or variable, means you can make it as a variable or a constant by making an assumption. But by default, we end up in a nonlinear equation because of the relative permeability. Okay, so we cannot conceptualize that relative permeability does not exist for a two-phase flow model. That is not a valid assumption at all. So by default, we end up in a nonlinear term. The equation will become like this in case of two-phase flow also. So how do we discretize this is what is the topic of focus today. Okay. Okay, so for how do we discretize this? This part we know, means Pin plus 1 minus Pin divided by delta t. We can discretize this temporal derivative term forward in time. Okay, so that we know. But the only complication is with the discretizing this term. Okay, so how do we conventionally do in the last exercise, it was like this: k by mu pi ct into this coefficient, some coefficient into dou square p by dou x square. So using the Taylor series, we have an approximation for central scheme for dou square p by dou x square, which is like this. Okay, so we comfortably did this. But in this case, you have a coefficient here, which is a variable, okay, like this. And so how do we solve it? It's what the primary difference is. So for anyway, we have to follow central scheme only, because the spatial derivative we are discretizing in a using central scheme. Okay, so this term will become like dou by dou x of q. Say for example, you consider it as a single term, and the q is nothing but k by mu b into dou p by dou x. Okay, so now apply dou q by dou x central scheme with respect to I. Okay, so I q I n I plus 1 minus q I minus 1 by 2 delta x. Okay, so I plus 1 term minus I minus 1 term by 2 delta x. This is 1 delta x and this is another 1 delta x. Okay, this is 1 delta x, this is another delta x. Okay, so q of I is equal to dou q of I by dou x is equal to q of I plus 1 minus q of I minus 1 divided by delta x. It's a simple interpolation like technique by 2 delta x, so which we have got from Taylor series only. Okay, so now q is not the primary variable. Means our actually q is another variable. So you apply substitute q here, and so now the equation is coming like this. Okay, k by mu b I plus 1 dou p by dou x I plus 1 minus k by mu b I minus 1 dou p by dou x I minus 1 by 2 delta x. Okay, so now this variable is, even though it is a variable, it is outside the PDE, and so you can comfortably apply central scheme for dou p by dou x with at I plus 1th node. Okay, corresponding to this node, again apply central scheme. It will, you can discretize like p of I plus 2 minus p of I by 2 delta x. Okay, so likewise it is coming like this, and likewise it for this term also dou p by dou x of I minus 1. So you have to discretize with respect to this node I minus 1th node, which is p of I minus p of I minus 2 by 2 delta x. Okay, so likewise it will happen. Now the final equation is like this. Okay, so it is involving p of discretization of this whole diffusion term with respect to ith node is involving p of I minus plus 2 node and p of I minus 2 node. Okay, it is basically involving this node, and this node. Okay, okay, as we were discussing in the class also, so the pressure of this node is directly dependent on the neighboring nodes. So the neighboring nodes will induce some pressure on the actual means ith node. Okay, so without considering the pressure of at this node, we are directly, which means that pressure of I is influenced by the, means mathematically, numerically, the values of I minus 2th node and I plus 2th node is what is used to compute the pressure of the, okay, pressure at the ith node. Okay, so we are not using I minus 1 and I plus 1. So in its immediate neighboring node values are not incorporated in calculating the pressure of the current node. Okay, so that is a drawback, and which will incur some stability problems also. And so even though this is the way we have to do it, but still this is the drawback we have. So immediate neighboring values are not accounted to calculate the pressure of the ith node. So in order to address this problem, the similar way of, this is the way to discretize this equation. But however, we use a slightly modified technique, means slightly means one step ahead, and just play with the numerical techniques using a staggered grid arrangement. Okay, so staggered grid means you consider that there is an intermediate node here. Okay, so between I and I plus 1, there is an intermediate node I plus half and I minus half. Exactly at the center of I and I plus 1, there is I plus half. Okay, so this is how it is for a uniform grid arrangement. It is like this. Okay, so delta x, and exactly in the middle. So middle, and so distance between I plus half and I minus half is again delta x. Okay, so you just consider like this. Even though in finite difference technique, you you divide the domain into individual nodes, and we calculate pressure at exactly at that node only. Okay, so what is the pressure, or what is the value of the dependent variable, some point in between I minus 1 and I minus 2, or somewhere in between the node point, we do not know. We do not calculate it actually. Okay, so means the idea is you calculate the pressure only at the node points. Okay, so that's why if you go for more grids, more number of grids, more means in a finer grids, you will get an exact solution. This statement you might have come across in some expert lectures also. When you go for a finer grid, you will get an exact solution. So the reason is, in finite difference algorithm, we do not get the values at the intermediate places. We just have the value of dependent variable or pressure at the node points. What happens in between, we do not know. So now we are introducing an intermediate node. So the pressure values corresponding to any values corresponding pressure, or any other variable like permeability or porosity or viscosity or compressibility, we do not calculate at this intermediate nodes. Okay, but we visualize that there is a intermediate node, and you apply the numerical techniques corresponding to this node. Okay, so how you do that? You see, so dou q by dou x, instead of discretizing to q of I plus 1 minus I minus 1, instead of that, you discretize like this: q of I plus half minus I minus half divided by delta I. Okay, again substitute what q is, and then you again discretize this centrally for dou p by dou x at I plus half. Now you have to discretize at this point, I plus half node, and at I plus half, it is involving I plus 1 and I minus 1. Okay, and likewise for I minus 2 node, it is involving I and I minus 1. Okay, so it is coming like this. Okay, so you are getting the pressure values from the nodes, but the coefficient values are coming from the intermediate nodes. Okay, so that's what I told you. Just means we are playing with numerical techniques, but it is not. It is numerically valid also. Okay. So rearranging this equation, you will have pi plus 1, pi, and pi minus 1. So this is how the equation is changed. And now you see, from when compared with the earlier case, it was involving I plus 2 and I minus 2 nodes. Now it is involving immediate neighboring nodes. Okay, so that's what the advantage of this technique. Okay, so this equation, now you can, in a consolidated way, it is the equation. This is our final equation. It is becoming like this. Okay, for the present case, this is for the earlier case. So you can just see how it is getting changed. It is analogous only. Now if you just come at this situation also, if you consider that all the coefficients are constant, k, mu, b, all are constant, just assume that it is constant. Now it will come to this form. Okay, so this b will cancel, and porosity and Ct will come to the numerator, k by mu pi Ct. It will become like this, and k by mu pi Ct plus k by mu pi Ct, it will become 2 into k by mu pi Ct. Okay, and so likewise it will come. So 1 minus 1 pi minus 1, if you take the constants outside, it will become 1 into pi plus 1 minus 2 into pi. So minus 2 into pi. So it will come back to this form. Okay, just to how analogous it is. Just to we introduced one complexity and how the equation is changing, how it is getting complicated. That's what you can see. So, and we can see the analogy also now. And the other important point here is you are discretizing the diffusion term at ith node, and it is involving I plus 1 node pressure, ith node pressure, and I minus 1 node pressure. Okay, that is fine. But it is involving intermediate k by mu b. We do not calculate k by mu b at the intermediate nodes. Okay. But how do we get this k by mu b at the intermediate node? That's another problem. So I'll just bring it here. This is the grid structure. Okay, so if you we have done the we have solved this problem as an assignment also. Numerical model you have developed and submitted it. Okay, so you can recall we give the pressure values at all nodes. Okay, so you for all ith nodes you say that initial pressure is some value, and you calculate pressure at I n plus 1, I is equal to 1 n plus 1 by P2 n plus 1, P3 at n plus 2, n plus 1. Okay, so we deal all the variables, coefficient, everything at the node points only. Okay, but when you if you want to solve this problem, you need k by mu b at the intermediate nodes. Okay, so what can we do? Okay, so one method is you can take average of both. If I want ip k by mu b I plus half, you have the values of k by mu b at ith node and I plus 1 node. You can take average of it. That is one method. Or you can take the upstream pressure value, upstream values. Okay, when if the fluid is flowing, if the fluid flow is happening in this way, from left to right, and you can say the code, numerical code, that you take this coefficient alpha I plus half as alpha I. Okay, previous node value. Okay, if the flow is happening in this way, so how do we tell the code to take the upstream value is you just give a condition. If pressure at I is greater than pressure at I plus 1, if pressure at I is greater than I plus 1, which means that fluid flow will happen from high pressure node to the low pressure node. Okay, so which means that flow is happening from I to I plus 1, from left to right. Okay, so if that condition is satisfied, tell the code to take k by mu b value as p of I, means as the ith node value, upstream value. Okay, so I think I'm not confusing you. Give the condition if pressure at I node is greater than I plus 1th node, which means that flow is happening from I node to the I plus 1th node. Okay, so upstream value means that you take k by mu b of I plus half as k by mu of I, mu b of I. Okay, the value corresponding to the ith node, upstream node, take the same value here. So that is also is one technique. And this problem comes in case of two-phase flow. In case of immiscible two-phase or multi-phase, two or more phases is flowing. So this issue comes. So in terms of accuracy, and it has been numerically studied, and they will emphasize that instead of taking averaging, if you take the upstream node values, okay, upstream values, the results are more reliable. Okay, it is more matching to the analytical solution, and so it is advised to use upstream values depending on the scenario. You can try to match it with analytical solution, and which one is closely matching, we can use that technique. Means as far as what value of k by mu b we are going to take here for the intermediate nodes. Okay, so for the intermediate nodes, what is the value of k by mu b, whether you are going to average it or whether we are going to upstream values. Okay, we are going to consider the flow direction and then we take the upstream values. So that depends on us. Then for the every conceptual model, we can try to match it with the analytical solution, and whichever is closely matching, and it is a conventional way that you can use upstream node values. Okay, so and I think the rest of the things you can do. Maybe you can try it as an homework for the earlier exercise. So the equation that we have got is of this form now, of this form, and you can try to apply whatever the procedure we have done here, and for 3 nodes, substitute I is equal to 1, 2, 3, and then you will get 3 equations corresponding to the 3 nodes, and then consolidate it into a matrix set of equation form, and then rearrange it in matrix form, and try to get this, applying your boundary conditions. Okay, so I give it as a homework to you. You can try it, and then you can send it to me. You can submit it in the Google Classroom. Okay. Okay, so I hope you are following it, and I wish the audio is also is audible, means audible. So if you have any doubts, you can contact me through email or through the Google Classroom, and you can call me also if it is required. Okay, so finally, to conclude, today we had seen how the model gets complicated if you consider compressibility of the fluid. Okay, if the fluid is compressible, if we have a variable coefficient, how the equation is getting changed, and what is the technique used to discretize that equation. Okay, so what is the way, what is the technique which we are going to follow to get set of equations. So once when you get the set of equations only, we can solve the problem. Okay, you need the matrix form. At the end of mathematical modeling, you will have a set of equations in matrix form. Okay, so that matrix only we have to solve in using any coding platform. Okay, let it be MATLAB or Python or C or C++ or Fortran. We need to get the matrix form, and that matrix form only will get into the coding part. Okay, so how we are going to how we arrived at matrix form is what we had covered today. Okay, and this will extend your ideology to, we can extend it to a two-phase flow model, which we'll do it in the next class. Okay.